having the right kit for the day and then using it at a location where you don't feel mortally threatened. You learn nothing when in survival mode, but if you're happy and relaxed, you perform. Before you brave the fray, consider what can go wrong with your gear. If you prepare yourself for the worst, you won't be crippled with fear when the unthinkable happens. For example, broken mast feet are responsible for more rescues than anything else. One thing you can do is to pass a piece of rope under the deck plate, lash it to the mast foot, then you can limp home either sailing or in the water start position. If you stay within the surf line, you can drop out of the sky and shatter your accessories to your heart's content, in the knowledge that you will eventually be washed ashore. But your biggest danger will be other people. You have right of way when going out through the waves, but still give everyone a wide berth. It only takes the smallest wave to completely hide a boredom sailor, so always keep an eye on the troughs ahead. But it's not the strong winds that always cause the problems.
Right, and Alan...
exploding off the top of a cresting roller and then soaring into wind-powered flight, all too often end up as a tangled, broken heap on the beach as the sea spits you out whence you came. And getting through the shore break relies on good timing, a cool head, and a little bit of bottle.
A certain law rules around the shore break. Firstly, it dictates that as soon as you launch, the water disappears. Then, as you sheet in, the wind either drops or it seems you're hit by a massive gust. And when you do finally stride out with confidence, the rig under control, the board lined up perfectly in the right depth of water, the biggest, gnarliest dumper of the day arrives on cue to bludgeon you into submission. But you can win. Just survey the wave pattern from the beach and wait for a lull. Then walk towards the front line without hesitation and stand on the upwind, upwave side of the board and rig and hold them well above the water. Stop just before the impact zone and stand your ground. Let a wave wash through you and then launch on the back of it into the deep water behind. Slide into the straps as quickly as possible and bend the knees to ride the lumps and control the gusts. In and amongst the white water, the wind is always fickle. If it deserts you when you most need it, hang on to the boom and use the rig to shove the nose of the board through the waves. Then wait for a puff before launching again and stand well forward until you're planing. And if you do lose the rig in the path of destruction and there's no time to recover it, then point the tip of the mast at the wave, hang on tight and sink it deep. When coming back in through the minefields, time your run so you're sailing between the waves. As the wave in front breaks, sail up the back of it, get off before the fin grounds, then scarper before you're sucked back in.
This jumping business really isn't as difficult as it looks. The problem is that as soon as the fin leaves the water, the board loses its lateral resistance and left to its own devices will spin straight into wind and land in a heap. So this is totally avoidable once you've learned to overcome your basic desire to bail out and once you've learned to coordinate your 3 points of contact. That is to say, your back foot, your front foot and the mast foot. The feet are responsible for steering the board in the air by using a push-pull action, while the mast foot, by pushing down or lifting up on it, controls the angle of the board in the air. So let's look at the beginning of a jump. The thing to remember is that you're going to sail the board through the air. So as you enter the airways, you simply sit back against the rig, drop your weight right to windward, and keep sheeted in. Then you drag the back of the board up under your bottom using your back foot, and stretch away with the front one. That bears the board away, all the time keeping pressure on the mast foot to keep the board off the wind. Then on landing, you simply bend your legs to absorb the shock. Now, as for practicing jumping, you'd think waves were essential, but in fact they're nothing but a nuisance early on. So let's go out onto the water now and see how by using your various lift devices you can get some very serious airtime on flat water.
Timing is the key. If you can lift with arms and legs the moment you hit a piece of chop and present the underside of the board to the wind, you'll be airborne in no time. Get the board bouncing with rhythm by pumping the sail and pushing down with the feet. Then punch up the front arm, pull up the feet and lift the windward rail. In the waves, the effects of sheeting out in mid-air are plain to see. So to make that essential transition from passenger to pilot, you have to open your eyes for a start so you can look ahead and aim to hit the steepest part of the wave on a beam reach. On takeoff, the rig, sheeted in, is pulled slightly to windward. The legs perform that scissor action, the bottom drops to fin level, the undercarriage is lowered, and you land just off the wind. Flat landings shatter knees and boards, but by landing tail or nose first, much of the shock is absorbed. Tail first is easier. At the apex of the jump, release the mass of pressure by sheeting out and extend the back foot towards the water. You'll lose a bit of speed, but it won't hurt a bit. To spot it nose first, stay sheeted in at the top of the jump. The weight of the rig flattens the board off and drives the nose down. Then just bend the knees, and because there's more volume in the nose, you tend to maintain your speed. By leaning forward onto the rig, you can force the board into a vertical dive, but to avoid a messy ending, extend the legs the moment the nose touches the water. In tightly spaced waves, it can be hard work getting to the big ramps on the outside with any speed. So try to flatten out the smaller waves, keep looking ahead, and even jump two at a time. So now you've got your wings, it's time to add a little style and individuality. So why not start by smashing the fin with the back of your head? If you abhor violence, try the gentler one-handed variation. Quite easy, so long as you stay hooked in with your weight committed against the rig. You can drop the backhand or the front hand, because it's all about free expression, just like riding the waves back in. Wave riding in its purest form involves a series of long and short radius turns, and with the odd body drag thrown in, on the unbroken section of the wave face. Cross and cross-offshore winds allow you to ride facing the wave. The goal is to perform the manoeuvres on the steepest, fastest part of the wave, just in front of the white water. And when you've used it all up, you can depart with a transition of your choice. The bottom turn is like the entry to a slalom jibe. In the cutback, you snap the board around by sheeting in and sinking the tail. Timing is once again everything. If you miss your cue, the boat will carry on without you. As you bear off into your bottom turn, look through your window down the wave to spot the peak, and then use the pitching lip to crack the board around. With good timing and aggression, you won't need a big wave to produce a dynamic performance. By pumping the rig and driving off the back foot, he breaks the fins out of this wavelet before bringing the board back to heel. The snappy top turn is easier to control if you leave the back foot in its strap, but try moving it forward again for the long bottom turn. In strong winds, it's all too easy to outrun the waves. On days when the sets are spasmodic, keep an eye on the horizon, and when you see a set, stall the board. When the wave picks you up,
Never thought it could be like this.